Hey guys, welcome back to JR14. Here I am with another video for you guys today, and I cannot believe it, but it's been 1 year since I bought this car, and I've actually put 20,000 miles on it. So today I'm going to give you my impressions. I'm going to let you know everything that failed in the car that I wanted replaced, and also my experience with an old 20-something-year-old car for having it for 1 year and putting 20,000 miles on it. So without further ado, let's get started with the video. So when I bought this Honda Civic, I knew that I was wanted a daily driver. As you guys know, I have Project Mark 7, which is going to be a full track beast when it comes back from Aerofab of North Carolina. Now, when I have that car is not going to be a car that I want to drive on a daily basis because it's just too nice to drive. I don't want it to be banged up or to be torn up. I want to be able to take that car to shows and track days and events and not have to worry about having to worry about how to get it parking home or having someone park into it or stuff like that. So that's why I said I wanted to buy a really cheap car, which is what this Honda's purpose was, to make sure if I wanted to just go to the store, boom, I drive a Honda. If I just wanted to go to a friend's house, boom, I drive the Honda. If I needed to drop my girlfriend off somewhere, boom, I take the Honda and not have to worry about the mileage or someone banging it up, because I don't care. It's a car for $1,000 with liability. I don't care. This car did not look like this when I got it. It had the original headlights that was cracked on one side, and it had water inside one of the headlights. Also, it did not have these wheels. It had 14-inch wheels rather than these LS Web 15-inch wheels. And I did these changes for a few reasons, which we're going to go around the car, show all the changes that were made, and tell you pretty much my experience with 20,000 miles. But I think as 20,000 miles and a car old like this, the first thing that we should talk about is the reliability. So let's pop the hood and let's show you what's in the motor, and let's talk about everything as far as power and reliability. So when I bought this car, it didn't look this clean. I actually did all the cleaning and detailing myself. I mean, it's still a little dirty, but I haven't cleaned this engine bay out in a little bit. But one of the things that when I knew that I had to do with the motor is just basic maintenance. The owner did tell me that he replaced the distributor cap. He did a couple other maintenance things, but for instance, I actually replaced these. These are the actual, that was a little hot, that's why I moved my hand back a little bit, touched that distributor cap. I replaced the spark plug wires as well as the spark plugs. I also put a new air filter in because the old one was completely dirty. And I also changed the oil when I first bought the car. Now what I usually do, I change the oil every 3,000 miles. One thing I did know is this engine does burn oil a little bit, but it's not too bad. So what I do is I do my oil changes every 3,000 miles. And you know, that was pretty cool to just do it at 3,000 miles. It's like $30 to change it, get all the parts from Advanced Auto Parts and just change everything out. So that's pretty much simple, you know, that's pretty much simple within itself with no problems at all. Like I said, one of the things I wanted to touch on, one of the reasons why I was really attracted to this car in the first place was because of the simple fact that nothing was touched, nothing was modified. It even has the original intake in the car, which is super rare. Usually if you find a Civic, it's been modified, lowered, clapped out in some way, shape, or form. But this was a completely stock car, completely OEM function. There was some aftermarket bits that were changed, like for instance, the distributor cap's not an OEM Honda part, it's an aftermarket part, but it's still the OEM piece. It's still OEM direct replacement, that I should say. Now, when I did get this car, like I said, I did other things as well. I wanted to change the valve cover gasket because I did notice like it was leaking a little bit of oil when I picked it up. And the good thing about these parts is that they were all pretty cheap. They weren't expensive at all. It really didn't need much as far as make sure that we do maintenance. Now, one of the things that I do want to mention is that I did change the headers on this car and the exhaust. So when I first got this car, I didn't have a check engine light when I bought it, but I soon had a check engine light right after, probably like about the first month of driving it. And it was due to the fact that now, if you got your Honda fans out there, this isn't a Honda, this is, like I said, it's a Honda Civic, but it has a D16Y, it's a D16Y7 motor, it's an LX trim. The EXs came with the Y8, which came with VTEC, because of the fact that the catalytic converter replacement for these with the header right in front of the motor for the D7s is over $700. Remember, I paid $1,000 for this car. If you haven't seen that video on how to buy a car for $1,000, click in the upper right hand corner of the screen. but I actually went ahead and said, okay, what is the cheapest alternative to still have OEM fitment parts and to put a new cat in it and still get a catback exhaust? So I actually did a catback exhaust from Yonaka Motorsports. The reason why I did a Yonaka Motorsports, I did a 3-inch one day, that's the only one I had available. 2, the old exhaust was rusted out. It was the stock exhaust. It looked clean until I saw the top of it. The top of it had a bunch of pocket holes, and it was rusted out. It needed a new catalytic converter because there was a crack on the header, and I needed to replace the whole system. So I bought this header for like 40 bucks. I bought the catalytic converter for like $100, and I worked with Yonaka Motorsports, so it was no cost to me. But yeah, so that's pretty much everything I've done with the motor aspect of it. I didn't add any power into it. I didn't tune it or anything like that. It's a D16. It's an automatic, unfortunately, but it gets the job done of driving from point A to point B and starting up every time and being reliable. So let's go around the rest of the car and show you what else I did to this 1999 Honda Civic LX. One of the other things I did to the Civic was one thing big for me, 2 things that are big for me. I'm usually driving a lot of the time. Like 80% of the time I'm in the car, I'm driving either to work, to a friend's house, for a long drive, somewhere I'm in the car. So there's 2 things that are very important to me inside the car: music and infotainment. So for what I did was, as far as my music is concerned, my speakers, I actually changed all the OEM speakers. It still has the stock amp in it. I replaced all the speakers with JBL concert speakers all the way around. They're 2-way in the front and 3 ways in the rear. 4 speakers in total. Fantastic, fantastic. It was so much better than the stock ones. I lost power in this one. The driver's side, front driver's side speaker stopped working. So once I replaced everything, it wasn't anything wrong with the wiring. It's just the speaker just gave out. The other thing I did was this is the Wolfbox 12-inch rear view mirror dash camera. Now I like this a lot due to the simple fact that I'm able to record in front of me and behind me. Now remember, this car does not have a backup camera for when I park, so I still am able to use something like this to make sure I don't tap into the car behind me. Now also this does record, so I can connect it with my phone, or I can take the SD card out and then also be able to save the footage on my computer later. But the big thing here is this is radio number 4. Now I replaced the head unit. You've seen all the videos. I'll put all the videos for this car. I'll put the whole playlist link of everything that I've done with this car in the description down below. But this is the actual latest video I just came out with a couple of weeks ago. This is the Binzy 10-inch head unit. I actually went ahead and replaced it with this head unit. One, it's a nice, really, like, I had a 7-inch double din screen, but I didn't realize how small it actually is when you're trying to work your way around while driving. I don't have steering wheel control, so I can't do it that way. Like in my GTI, for instance, it's a 6.5-inch screen, but on the same aspect, I have steering wheel controls, so I'm able to control everything through the steering wheel, volume, and everything else. With this, it's a 10-inch screen. It's flatter, so it doesn't have a bezel around it. It looks a lot cleaner. The resolution's a lot better, and I'm able to just tackle everything right here and there. The microphone with this one's a lot better too. A lot of people can hear me a little bit more clear, and it's just absolutely perfect in every way. And it works well, and it gives more power to the speakers to get a more richer and more just a louder sound overall. I did add this. All the products that I'm going to be mentioning are on Amazon, and I will put all the links to everything I purchased as far as electronics in the description down below, so you guys can purchase them for yourselves. I went ahead. The speakers, however, I ordered from Clutchfield.com, and I was able to get everything set up with them. They're fantastic. If you need to buy speakers, buy it from them. I actually bought this. So one thing I wanted to make sure, one thing that I'm used to in my GTI is charging my phone with USB ports or cigarette lighters. Now in this car, there's only one cigarette lighter, and that's it. Now if I want to charge my phone, remind you, this is to power this. So if I just plug this by itself, I have no other place to charge my phone. So I ordered one of these. It has its own fuse on the back, so it's not going to blow anything out inside the car because it does run on more power. Also, you're able to charge a Type-C and two USB Type-C and 2 USB Type-A's at 2.4 amps. And it also tells you the battery voltage, which is also kind of cool on an older car, so that this way, if I know that I need to change the battery because the voltage is low, then I know that I need to change it. And when it gets too low, it starts to flash at you too, which is kind of cool. Unfortunately, it isn't automatic. I could not find a manual Honda Civic for a good price. The thing about those vehicles is that, besides this one, is that everybody wants an EX, everybody wants a 99, everybody wants an EX, everybody wants a VTEC, a D16Y8, and everybody wants the manual. And I could not, I tried, I looked at like at least 8 cars, and I was just like, you know what, screw it. If I want to manual swap it later, they're not hard to do, and I know I can get it done. So, yeah. So let's walk around the rest of the car. And like I said, there's not much that was done, but we're gonna go on the outside of the car now and check the wheels out. So let's go. So now we're coming down to the bottom of the car. We're coming to the wheels. Now, when I bought this car, it had 14-inch Sparco wheels, and it had all Kumho tires. The tires were fine, the wheels were fine. Unfortunately, even with 14-inch wheels with a really wide tire, I hit a massive pothole in the rain, and I caused the wheel to bend. The problem with those Sparco wheels is that, one, they're not cheap, which is like at least cost effective to get a new one, and two, I can't find a used one in that size, and 3, you know, the wheel was bent. To repair it, it would have cost the same amount of money to buy a wheel. So I was just like, okay. I ended up buying these LS Webbs. Shout out to Will. He actually works for Honda Valley Stream. He's my guy. He had a set of these LS Webbs, and he gave me a really good price on them. And I actually replaced the tires as well just recently, because I actually, one of the tires had a bubble in it, and I replaced all the tires anyway because it needed to be changed, and now the car rides phenomenal. Now, the good thing about those 14-inch wheels, the sucky part about those 14-inch wheels, finding a tire shop that have them in stock is actually really hard to find. The 15s are a little bit easier. They're still kind of hard, but they're easier than the 14s to find in the size I need. And if you guys also are interested in what size these are, I believe these are 15x6, and they're I think it's a 195/55 R15 tire size all the way around. Now, another thing that I actually changed in this car was these headlights. Now, like I said in the beginning of the video and in the last video I made, when I bought this car originally, it had cracked headlights. Well, one of the headlights was cracked from the inside, and it was allowing water to come in. So I knew that and they were faded anyway. They did have HIDs, but they flickered from time to time. And I was like, all right, well, I want some nice LEDs. So I actually went ahead and replaced all the bulbs throughout the entire car, inside, rear tail lights, third brake light, all that. And those are all replaced with LEDs. So I'll show you an example of that right now. This is another thing that I found out way after I bought the car, like actually just about a couple of months ago. But I don't know if you could see it through the rim, but I actually went ahead and replaced pads and rotors because it was just time to change them. And I noticed that one of the pads wasn't seating, it was getting loose inside of the caliper. So once I took the caliper off, I realized that the caliper was seized. So I needed to replace the calipers and the pads and the rotors, and that actually wasn't an expensive job at all. I went everything about it. They look rusted because of the simple fact that they had a coating on it, and once I do wheel cleaner just to clean up the car, it actually took that coating off. Maybe I'll spray paint them black, maybe not. I'll probably just leave them alone, to be honest with you. And yeah, so that's pretty much it with the brakes. Now the car drives completely fantastic, and you know, it drives completely perfect with no issues at all. Another thing that I did with this car that I did not mention is the suspension. I actually was concerned that the suspension was original as far as the control arms and everything, and it threw me a little off because I'm like, okay, the car's been a New York car all of its life. It's a 20-something-year-old car. None of these suspension components have been changed. The car drove fine, but still, I'm weirded out by stuff like that, especially when something's so old and I know it's original. So I went ahead, I spent a good amount of money getting that stuff done, but at least it was done. Also, the brake line needed to be changed too because it was also rotting out and leaking from the rear right by the gas tank. So I was like, okay, well, we need to fix that line. Once we fixed that line, we got everything. We replaced it with a completely brand new brake line from front to back. So that's all good. Brake pressure is great. And then also another thing that we did was suspension. Like I said, I wasn't crazy about driving a car with bad suspension, especially since I bought it last September and I was going to go into winter, and I'd rather have nothing fail on me in the winter time. So I replaced upper control arms, lower control arms, inner and outer tie rods, stabilizer bar end links, and I believe that was it. I believe upper, lower, yeah, inner and outer tie rods, the stabilizer end links, stabilizer bar end links, and yeah, those are the components we replaced. Car's been fine ever since. The rear, nothing really needed to be changed on it, and you know, everything was pretty good with that. So now, since we talked about everything that was modified on the car after I've had it, let's go in for a drive and let's talk about how the car has been for the past 20,000 miles. So let's go. We're driving the car right now, right? And well, we're about to drive the car. We didn't drive it yet, but we're gonna drive it now. All right. So we're driving this now. Again, it's a little loud because of the fact I have an exhaust on it. We know that already. It was cheaper actually to get that exhaust put on than it was to buy an exhaust that's OEM or like an OEM fit. So I bought the car, and I didn't say this in the beginning of the video. I don't know why I didn't do it, but I bought the car with 163,000 miles on it. It was a 2-owner car, I think. It was a 2-owner car, and the first owner leased this car from Bay Ridge Honda. Then the new owner, I don't know if they had certified pre-owned or just a used car lot at the time. This was around early 2000s, and by that time it would probably be like 2003, after like a 3-year lease. So he bought it after that, and it's owned it ever since. And you know, nice dude, Filipino dude. He's a really cool guy. No issues with anything with him. He was really front up with every single little thing, and he was pretty good with just letting me know everything of what's going on. But like I said, the car had 163,000 miles when I bought it, and now it has 183,519 miles on it. And for driving an old car like this with 20,000 miles for a year, it's easy to do that in a new car. A new car, it's not really a big deal because it's a new car. Doing it in an old car is more challenging because the motor's kind of already worn out already at that point. So there are some issues that happen with the car in the beginning. To just be transparent, like I said, there was the suspension components that were a little rusted out, a little too rusted out to my liking. So I was like, all right, let me go ahead and replace everything, and also let me go ahead and get everything situated as far as the suspension components. Now the exhaust was a little rusted too, so I went ahead and replaced that. Did the O2, well, I didn't do the O2 sensors, which bit me in the butt a couple of weeks ago, because those ended up failing, and it caused the car to idle weird, and it caused the check engine light to come on. And it was a bit of a pain because I actually went ahead and replaced one of them first, and one of them, you know, and it didn't fix the issue until I replaced the other one. And the 2 new ones working together actually did the trick. Now, how's the car in general? The car rattles a little bit. Obviously, it's a 21, 22-year-old car, but it drives great. It drives great. The steering wheel's nice and straight. I have cold air now. I fixed the AC, which actually just was a recharge, which thank you, European Auto, for getting that fixed. And thank you for European Auto for looking over this car for me to make sure that it's, you know, that it's in tip-top shape and running, because you know, the older cars you have to pay more attention to than newer cars, to ensure that, you know, the car continues to run. More frequent oil changes, fluid needs to be changed more often, and things of that nature. The other thing I did in it was put an alarm. I put an alarm in it, I put a radio in it, I put speakers in it. That's stuff for my enjoyment, and stuff I can make content on. But as far as running and making sure that the car runs reliable and the car stays reliable, I changed basic maintenance components. Like the spark plugs were $1 a piece. The spark plug wires were 80 bucks, which was all 4 of them, all the wires that connected to the distributor cap. Those were like $80. I didn't buy a battery yet because I didn't need one. It's not, I'm used to it now, but anyone else that gets in the car, I have to turn my music up all the way to like hear anything. It's just kind of annoying. I wish I did have the stock exhaust back on it, because I did this exhaust because I'll tell you the original plan. The original plan was to put a B18 in it and manual swap it. But, you know, I have a project car already, and that's my GTI, and I'm getting that back very soon. So I can't really focus on this, and I need a daily driver. I need a car that is my daily and only my daily and will always be my daily. So once I knew in my mind, like, okay, I'm not doing X, Y, and Z, you know, then it's not a problem. It's not so much of a concern for me to have an exhaust on it. The only reason why I did an exhaust was because I thought I was going to manual swap it and have a good, nice sounding, revving, not 8,000 RPM B series motor. But that's just not going to happen. I'm going to stick with this motor for now because it's been good to me, and I'm going to stay true. I'm going to stay good to it. The acceleration, I mean, we can give it a rip. It's not going to go anywhere, but that's floored. What can you do? But overall, like I said, I don't buy the car for speed. I have a very fast car already. I mean, but you know, it does what it needs to do. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna get on the highway real quick and show you how the car rides on the highway, because this is where it's most impressive for me. It does shake a little bit, but again, the car is so old, I can't really knock it for being old. I can't really knock it at all for being old, to be really honest with you. But it's just been a good car. I can't even really complain about it at all. It's just been really a good car. It's been reliable to me. It's been good in the winter. Oh my God, this thing is scary in the snow. I mean, it wasn't even a point where I had to go out in the snow. There was a time where I had to pick up my girlfriend from work, and the snow just came down. It just came down hard, and I was just like, oh my God, I'm gonna crash. This thing has no ABS, no traction control. It's old school. It's old school way of doing things. So pretty much when you're looking at stuff like that, it's just not really, it's not really anything to worry about. But I mean it is something to worry about, because you have no safety controls. Like my GTI has stability control, an advanced torque vectoring system with the front diff. It has traction control, all that stuff. So when it comes down to trying to focus on driving from a severe, horrible weather aspect, it's kind of scary. It's kind of scary to actually try to drive this car, you know, in snowy conditions. I will take some points off for it. But again, this is the car I bought. The car weighs 2,400 pounds. It floats on top of snow. So it goes anywhere like the snow takes it. If there's like a groove in the road, it follows the groove. It doesn't even follow my steering input, which is kind of also scary. There's a soft spot in my heart for this car, because I bought it on my own. I researched for it on my own. I negotiated it on my own. You know, so it's kind of like, it's a soft spot for me, and it's a good car. It's not like I regret buying it. It's like, you know, it's gotten me, I've driven so far with this car, so many different places, and it's just been absolutely a fantastic experience with it. Yes, I knew that there were going to be some things that I would have to fix. The AC, the O2 sensor issue, the exhaust issue. And I knew that going into it, but I also knew that it wasn't going to be expensive to fix. There are no like crazy vibrations. We fixed all the motor mounts. The motor mounts didn't need to be changed, but we changed them anyway. So now for preventative maintenance, we don't have to worry about that again, since we did all the other stuff. I changed the oil pan gasket underneath. I changed the valve cover gasket on the top. We changed the brake line, like I said. We changed all the suspension components in the front that were rusted out. The rear was fine when we looked at it. I can't knock it at all. I can't knock it at all. The only thing about my gripes with this car, damn, I wish it was a stick, because I absolutely hate, and I'm using that word correctly in this context. I hate this transmission. It's a 4-speed. In today's world, it's a pig, and it's a pig. No denying that. I hate it. I don't like it, and yeah. So, I mean, that's all I can really say about it. But I mean, like I said, do I regret not buying? Do I regret buying this car? Do I regret going to a $1,000 car? No, I do not have any regrets buying this car. I would do it all over again. I probably would have manual swapped it by now. But you know, other things were important. I moved a couple of different places and stuff like that. So, and I'm trying to prepare, you know, this Project Mark 7 stuff for you too. So it is very important to make sure that that is coming up on the channel, which will be coming up on the channel and I mean, and I say that very, very firmly, very soon stuff will be coming out with that car on the channel. So make sure that you subscribe. But that's going to conclude the drive. I mean, I have really not much to talk about. Also, actually, what I do want to talk about is the comfort. Now, that's another thing for me. I'm a bigger dude. I'm a little chubby. I need to lose a little weight. But as far as the car for me, it's fine. As far as the car for me and you know, my passenger, my girlfriend, or my friends, it gets cramped. It's a small car. You know, like my friend that gets in the car, a couple of my friends that are tall, their knees hit the dashboard when the seat's all the way back. And you know, I want something a little bit bigger than this. That's my other gripe that I have with this car. I mean, it is a Civic. I knew it was a Civic. It's smaller than the Accord. I get that. But I just wish knowing beforehand that I would, you know, and I bought the car, I didn't think, you don't buy a car for anybody else, you buy a car for yourself. All right, guys, well, that concludes this 20,000 mile review of the Honda Civic. I hope you guys did enjoy. Now, this car is fantastic. It's fun-ish because of the fact that in my mind, it's a peace of mind. You know, it's just been a great car. It's giving me a little bit of flaws here and there, nothing too crazy, but I do realize it's an old car. I think it may be time to get something different. I'm not too sure, but I may have something coming on the channel that might or may not replace this in the next coming weeks. So make sure that you subscribe to JR14. Make sure that you give this video a thumbs up, and make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to JR14. You guys always remember that cars are a lifestyle.